And the European Union has hit Google with a record fine equal to $5 billion. The EU says Google violated antitrust laws with its dominance of its Android operating system. The tech giant has 90 days to make changes or face further penalties. Executive editor from CNET, Ian Sherr, joins us now. Ian, break down the exact reason behind the fine for us. What is the EU punishing Google for?
The primary concern is about how Android works. Every time you have a Android device that you get from LG or Samsung or one of these companies, there tends to be Google apps in them, specifically Google Search, but also their Play Store for the App Store and all that stuff. And because those things are tied into Google and tied into Android, the EU feels as though they are breaking antitrust rules. And so their concern is that these kind of rules that bind everything together make it very hard for competitors to have any leeway to actually compete.
Well, are they potentially also violating antitrust rules in the U.S.? Is there the possibility the U.S. will follow suit?
There's a possibility, but it's important to remember that the United States has not gotten its act together when it comes to actually taking on to the tech industry in any meaningful way. We saw with Cambridge Analytica, for example, and all of those hearings that happened a couple months ago, the Congress barely understands how the internet works, let alone being able to understand how to regulate it. And so it's very unlikely we're going to see much from the U.S. unless it comes from the Justice Department, which even then they haven't really gone after tech industry much yet.
So it seems that that Europe is a step ahead of us on this one. So how has Google responded to this fine?
They plan to appeal, which is not a shocker, and they are defending themselves, right? And it makes sense because if you think about it, the entire internet right now is built around this idea of free, right? Everything you have access free, and it has to be paid for somehow. When it comes to Android, it's the Google search results that then have ads in them that all of us click on. And so that is something that if it gets undone could have some significant impact on the future of Android.
And what kind of impact can it have on consumers? I mean, how does this affect consumers one way or the other?
At the moment, not at all. But the potential for the future is that it could raise the cost of our devices. Imagine if Google Search is no longer involved in Android and suddenly Google has to pay for Android somehow. They start charging the handset makers, which then, they don't make that much money, the handset makers, so they pass the cost on to you and me. So it's going to be interesting to see how far this goes and how much it really starts to actually drive very big questions into how the tech industry works and this whole free world that we've been living in up until now.
Right, you got to pay for it somehow, as you said. So, Ian, this, of course, isn't the first time Google has been fined by the EU. What was it fined for in the past?
Yeah, so the past one was about shopping results, which, this is more about how Google Search is built. Whenever you look for something that might be shopping related, they show the shop results at the top of the bar, or the top of the screen, rather. And so that was something that, again, the EU felt was pushing down competitors. And if, if Google Search is one of the most used websites on the planet, then it needs to be more kind of allowing any other competitors in there on the top of the results where most people click. And so that was the EU's concern before.
And then did Google pay the fine? I believe it was $2.8 billion. Or did they make any changes to their algorithm? What happened there?
Again, I mean, the tech industry broadly is resisting all of these types of things. And so we're going to see more and more of the tech industry saying, look, this is the way we work. This is the way we pay for ourselves. How can you demand that we change it? And we're going to see, especially Google, because they're on the hot seat right now, but Facebook in the future, I'm sure, too, starting to push back and say, look, if you want things to be free and accessible and easily used around the world for anyone who whether they make money or not or have a lot of money in their pockets, then we have to do things this way. Right. And you're going to see some challenge to that.
Yeah, and this is the attack on the antitrust front. This isn't even the attack on the privacy front, which is a whole other ball of wax, right, Ian?
Yep, exactly.
All right, Ian Sherr, thank you so much for your insight.
My pleasure.